Okay, so let's get started. So you signed on the dotted line to direct the sequel. I mean, what goes through your mind, joining this world, and did you feel any pressure?
Well, yes and no. Of course, the huge success of the first movie was there were big shoulders to stand on. But Tom Hardy, called me up out of the blue and said, "Andy, I'd really like to throw your hat in the ring to direct this. If might you be interested?" And I read the story and the script that he and Kelly had written, and I was just, I mean, I'd loved the first film, and I particularly loved his performance in the first film. And Tom and I had wanted to work together for many years, so it was just it was a gift really, because the hard work that had gone into setting that story up was done in many ways, and so stepping into a world where you're quite rightly saying that the train was already moving, but it had got to a really interesting point where now we could investigate the real relationship between Eddie and Venom in a more thorough way. Now they know each other, and consequently, really examine the personality of Eddie and Venom, and how they match, how they mismatch, the dysfunctionality of their relationship. The what was working brilliantly about the relationship, the fact that Venom is so honest and truthful and upfront and has no filter, and Eddie's so self-obsessed and a bit narcissistic and screwed up, and Venom really enjoys pinning him on all of those things. And just this odd couple, and then introducing an incredible villain character, which was a very exciting prospect in terms of how we're going to make Carnage different, and how he moves, his physicality, the sort of dangerous schizophrenic wit that he has, and the way that he enjoys inflicting pain. There were so many great ingredients, so I was really excited to join the journey.
And for me anyway, the relationship between Venom and Eddie is the best because it's the funniest as well. I mean, there is a scene where they have a bit of a lovers' tiff, and poor Eddie gets the brunt of it. Did Tom have any problems filming that scene? Who was he fighting up against?
Well, Tom has worked with an amazing stunt guy called Jake Tamuri, who actually I worked with years ago in New Zealand on Lord of the Rings, coincidentally. And he looks so much like Tom. He's a spitting image of Tom. He's a really good stunt double, and he's studied Tom, and he doubles him in nearly every film that he does. So they've got a very, very good working relationship. So they could literally throw each other around the room, and I believe they've worked together on Legend, where he played his brother, and and so on and so forth. So they've got a very good shorthand, and that scene was. I mean, Tom, when Tom's reacting to when Venom headbutts him and things like that, that's Tom's just incredible physicality and being able to do that. No one's actually headbutting him. He's just he's playing that. So he's got a tremendous facility for great physical acting, and he did a lot of the stunts in that sequence himself, and then Jake would take over for the bits which would seriously render Tom, not knock him out or whatever. But he did some pretty amazing things. But that's the way that Tom works on the character, and the level of understanding he has of Venom and Eddie, and seeing how the process of creating Venom, which I'm not sure but he before every single scene, before we block every single scene and get it up on its feet, Tom records Venom's voice, and then it's played back into an earpiece in his ear, so he can then improvise against Venom's lines, and the sound operator can play like literally press a button to time when to react with when he's playing Eddie Brock. So it's like this strange radio play that happens, and so you really do feel that this alter ego is there for in Tom's head.
Yeah. And obviously, from your motion capture background as well, does that kind of help bring this film together for you?
certainly my kind of visual effects, kind of the background now in visual effects and working with performance capture, although we didn't use it directly in this movie because it was a slightly different process. As I say, it was more of a radio play for Tom. He wanted the freedom of not having someone stand there in a motion capture suit for him to act against. He sort of wants to place Venom wherever he feels it. And also, because Venom can become a wraith and come out of his body and move around in different ways, we felt it wasn't going to work in that way. However, we did use performance capture, motion capture, to find the way that Carnage moved, because we wanted to create a entirely different physicality. So we did some tests at the beginning of the shoot with dancers, all these different types of dancers and different acrobats and gymnasts, because we wanted to find a way that Carnage is. You know, if you imagine Venom is like a kind of an American football player or a number 8 rugby player, but, you know, he's all about muscle and strength and he's straightforward. We wanted Carnage to be able to be slippery and slimy and move in different ways and extrude these tentacles, which would then, he was like a squid. He was like a slippery squid. So we used motion capture to devise different ways of moving for that character.
Okay. Yeah, and also you're talking about Cletus's background. You do use some like comic drawings as well. But what I liked was that you didn't drag out how that revenge story started between him and Eddie, but you still seem to have the right amount of detail in there. How do you go about balancing, knowing how to get that right?
Well, it's a process that's an editorial process. We did shoot a lot more actually, and there were other scenes that we never actually shot that were in the script that where he goes back to visit his dad. Cletus goes back to visit his dad, and for instance, he with Shriek, they actually kill his dad, and so. But it was kind of like we didn't need to go down. We didn't need to dot the I's and cross the T's on all aspects of his background. We wanted it to be, to come from his imagination, from his, that all that storytelling that you do see in the kind of the scratchy drawings that he does while he's in prison, comes out of his psyche, So and we didn't feel we needed to over explain it, I mean, I think. I really love the fact we start the movie with young Cletus and young Shriek, because it sort of sets the tone in a way that, although we are going to have fun with Eddie and Venom and it is funny, it's all the time grounded in, all the characters are grounded in an emotionally truthful way.
Yeah, and before I let you go, I know you can't say anything about the Batman, obviously, but you play Alfred in Matt Reeves' reincarnation. Could you tell us how your Alfred differs from the original?
Sadly, I can't say a single thing, so I have to. I'm so sorry about that.
No, I knew that was coming. I had to try.
One day.
But would you actually come back for the third film, for Venom 3?
Oh, in a heartbeat. I mean, it's just, it's been such a joy to make, and with the, some of the greatest actors on the planet. So, I mean, I loved working with Naomie, Michelle, Woody. And as well as obviously Tom, yeah, great.
Well, I hope you do, because I love the film. So thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.
All right. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys.
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey